to take a bird's eye view, because the deal rooms that we had at the Innovate Nairobi Tech Week is part of a bigger program that we have at the county government. Mm-hmm. And the bigger question that someone would ask is, what are we doing to be able to support startups and innovators generally? Mm-hmm. In Kenya, we have a big challenge of poverty, over 30%, at least in Nairobi County. We have over 1 million young graduates who are entering the labor market. It's projected to 1 million for the next 5 years. That's close to 5 million. Sorry. And of course, looking at the SMEs, the traditional SMEs really are doing their best in terms of supporting socioeconomic development in the country, but they're not able to do that. So looking at startups and innovators, and generally the innovation ecosystem, we hypothesize and believe that if well supported, then probably we can be able to absorb and create economic opportunities, not only for themselves, but also create employment for others. So that's the reason why we, the sector that I had was created, and looking at ways in which we can be able to support. So funding is one of the areas that needs to be looked at critically. If you look at Kenya generally, we attract around 17% of total VC money that is coming into Africa. But again, if you look at critically at these numbers, you'll see there's a leaning towards fintech. So whenever we talk about startups, we don't see other sectors attracting as such. And for us to be able to grow the ecosystem, it means we need to be able to diversify and support startups from across different sectors. And that's the reason why focusing on funding is critical. And the way we are looking at it is in two ways. Number one is looking at catalyzing corporate VC. So a lot of funding that comes to Kenya and Africa is what we are calling institutional VCs. So these are investors who are sitting in the global north, either in the US, Europe, who are looking to invest to different startups. Of course, that money either comes with bias or is highly competitive. So it means that they can only be able to invest in certain areas. But if you look at Kenya generally, is the sector that he is in, we have stakeholders within education. We have stakeholders in software as a service. We have a lot of corporates who have money who can be able to invest in startups. So that's one area that we're looking out for, to be able to catalyze and ensure that we are able to support local corporates to invest. But specifically to a question around deal rooms is, we held our first Innovate Nairobi Technology Week, which was just a platform for different stakeholders within the ecosystem, the startup ecosystem, to come, have conversations, co-create policy, etc. But one of the value propositions that we put out for startups is not only for them to exhibit and meet partners, but also ability to be able to link up with potential investors. So what we did is we made a public call for startups to come exhibit, and we were able to create a deal book through our partners. And it is through this deal book that startups were coming and saying, what, we are looking for funding, and we were linking them up with investors. So conversations were happening around investments.
Well, and you've mentioned something very important. You said that a lot of investors, and especially in Africa, they have a keen interest on fintech. And I just wanted to know, will the county government have some bias of its own? Because I saw during the Innovate Nairobi week, the startups that exhibited there, they were wide-ranging. Will you have some bias moving forward?
Like I said, the KPI that I have as an officer in the county is to create jobs. And of course, by supporting the innovation of startup ecosystem. So there is no incentive for me to be biased. What we are trying to do is to catalyze and organize the ecosystem and ensure that value is created across board. So what we are working with startups across all sectors. I think in the next couple of months we'll be launching a self-register database for startups, where startups can be able to register at the Innovate Nairobi portal. We can be able to classify them into different sectors, different stages. And of course, then investors can just easily come and, part of the challenge that even investors have as they come to Kenya is the sheer lack of information. Every other day you hear of a new startup coming through, you hear someone has been here for 3-4 years, and no one has been able to invest in him. So the database we want to create is a self-registered database. Investors can directly reach out to startups for them to have conversations around investment. So there is absolutely no bias. We hope that we can be able to support startups across all sectors.
Well, Majiwa, have you managed to secure grants or funding before, and how has the process been like?
Okay, so we haven't managed to go into grants and sourcing of funding, because this is really like a new startup that we just came up with. And we've been thinking, most investors want at least to see, as I had